Hi, you guys. My name is Anastasia Cornish, and I'm very excited that I got the chance and opportunity to do my presentation on Chapter 22, which is social networking sites. So, as we begin and as you follow along, we're going to look at the history, some developments between it, and to understand what is the SNS. What we will also do is kind of compare that to social media and see how it's developed over time and kind of get an idea of what we can expect in the future. And then I will pose a question for you guys to answer. So let's go ahead and start with slide 2. Slide 2 will basically be the introduction. So what is social networking site, SNS? According to Boyd and Ellison, within the text, they say that a website must meet 3 things. It says a website that will allow users to construct public or a semi-public profile within a bounded system. The second thing is it will articulate a list of other users with which share a connection. And the third thing is view and traverse list of connections and those made by others within the system. In our textbook, it also says that based on this definition that Ellison and Boyd give us, it may seem to restrict a little bit of what SNS or social networking site is exactly. With so many diverse websites and having things such as Facebook, you have Instagram, LinkedIn, which we will see later on in our slides. There's so many different ways of looking at or trying to explain what is social networking sites. And hopefully by the end of my presentation, you will have a clearer view of what SNS is and the differences between SNS and social media. So now we will get to slide 3, which slide 3 and 4 kind of give you a history timeline of SNS, how it started, and where we are now with our social media. So in 1969, CompuServe was the first centralized site for computer networking and sharing. And this was during a time where timeshare was very popular with computers. So it all started with CompuServe, and then in 1996, 6degrees.com came about. And this was actually the first identifiable social networking site. And as we move down, which I'm pretty sure, or maybe a lot of you have heard of Friendster. Around 2002, Friendster was a website that allowed people to create profiles and connect with friends. So thinking about where we are now with social media and websites, and kind of going back to the 1960s into early 2000s, we can see the development of websites and social networking sites where they are trying to connect people, making it easier to create a profile, which in slide 4 you will see where we start to enter our personal information and start to make that connection where we can communicate with others that are not close to us, that can be far away within distance. And also it will show the development to where we can communicate with people from all over, which is amazing. Going into slide 4, where the history continues, in 2003, MySpace turned online social networking into a multimedia experience. And this was the first SNS to allow members to customize their profiles using HTML. I will say personally, MySpace was the first social networking site that I've ever been on. My parents were a little more strict than some, and it was a while before I got on, but it was something that I seen all my friends were getting on. They were creating these cool profiles where you can change your background, you can add music to it, and it was a way to connect with friends. And we would always say, well, how many friends do you have? How many friends did you have? So once I created a MySpace, I will say back then compared to now, it was a time where even though my parents were strict, it wasn't a time where necessarily we were connecting with people, a lot of people that we did not know, or a lot of people from far away. at least in my situation and with my group of friends, we really just wanted to connect with each other when we were out of school, because I didn't have a cell phone at the time. And if we did back then, you had Nokias, you had phones with minutes. And this was the time also when a lot of people used their house phone, their home phone. So MySpace, I will say, even till this day, it was really cool. You can do so much and so much with your profile and put information in. And it wasn't something that my parents typically had to worry about, who are we talking to as much, because I just wanted to connect with my friends. This was my big mobile device, as you can say, instead of sending a text message, which, like I said, we really utilized the house phone, or, waiting until the next day to see your friends in school, or, after school. This was a way for us to connect and keep in touch with everyone. In 2004, Mark Zuckerberg, if you haven't followed the story, seen the movie, or heard about how Facebook was created in 2004, which actually started and originated for Harvard students, and then became available to anyone who had a valid email. And then at some point it became available as long as you had a valid email, and I think at the age of 13. So there was a point where when you logged on, you have to enter your information, and based on your birthday, if you were 13 or older, it would allow you access to create a profile. This was the first social networking site to offer a news feed to a homepage. Now, I will say I love Facebook. I still utilize my Facebook, as many do. But Facebook has become something, and was something then, that allowed us to keep up with the news. I will say to this day, I will get my information as far as what's going on in the world, entertainment, anything, quicker, or and it's more convenient going through Facebook than I will watching the news, getting a newspaper, or even utilizing radios. I used to work for a radio station, Intercom, so we would do a lot of Facebook Lives. We would post news stories, breaking news that happened. We would post it to Facebook. And Facebook is so convenient to find news. And so I will say, this is our news outlet. A lot of people utilize Facebook to see what's going on, to post things that are happening, not just connecting. It went from, Harvard, then making it to where we can connect with anybody from all over, getting away a little bit from creating like the backgrounds and the profiles, but still giving us a sense of controlling our profile, our friends list, even where businesses are able to sell their products, create ads, and things of that nature, where Facebook was utilized for so much. You can create personalized groups where only certain people have to be approved to be in the group, and you guys can share content, blogging, all that good stuff. So I will say Facebook is utilized for a lot of different things, but I will say it is a news feed outlet now to get more convenient news feed on what's going on, or in entertainment. And I will say, like I mentioned before about MySpace, during that time where, at least in my situation, we didn't really have to worry about so much as, who are you talking to from far away and things like that. And I will say, with Facebook, now I do see a lot more parents monitoring it, because now you have so many people that don't know you. I have friend requests from tons of people that I don't know from other countries. So I will say that, just making sure that, it went from following people we know to now, I'm meeting people from all over, and not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but it is to the point now where the younger generation, myself, your children, just making sure we monitor and keep up with who they are talking to, because now with Facebook, you can, even before now, you could put your location in, you got your phone number. It's so much personal information that is allowed with things like Facebook, even with MySpace, where Facebook now, you can get somebody's location just by going on Facebook. So we kind of put our whole lives out there in a sense, and we are able to control that. But there is a lot of times where people can know where you are or know where you live at. And that's, some of the alarms that kind of set off when you think about how much information is going out there and how much information we put out there on these social networking sites. But I will say, a little bit during the time between MySpace and Facebook, LinkedIn was created, which is in 2003, to kind of back it up just a little bit and get more up on a business side to things. LinkedIn is a professional site, and a lot of people use it. Some people don't. I personally love LinkedIn. It's a way for me to put my resume out there, my portfolio, to let people know, my career interests, what I have a degree in, and what I'm searching for as far as my next move in my career or a job. And it's also a great way for employers to find employees and to see, people's resumes, what people have done, their experience. And it's very professional. I've never had a problem with LinkedIn. I will say, like I said, some people have a profile, they just don't check it that much. Me, like I said, it's something that I utilize. I try to stay up to date as much as possible. You can get news feed on that as well, but it is something that in 2003, it took a lot of people by storm, even now with the way businesses use LinkedIn. 2005, we have Reddit. And then in 2006, we have Twitter. And then 2010, Instagram. In 2011, you have Snapchat. So between LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all of those, you kind of see the development in all of those. Like I said, LinkedIn, very professional site. You have things like Instagram. I will say with Instagram, it is funny how that came about. Instagram, which is a lot different from Twitter, is something where you can still post pictures, the captions, and things like that, but not necessarily have this big profile like MySpace or Facebook had. And it's something sweet and simple, as I would call it. And they also have it to where you can go live on Instagram, which is the same as Facebook, which later on in our slides, we will talk about live streaming and how Facebook and Instagram gives you those options now. But Instagram is something that a lot of more people are using to this day. Like I said, you can go live on Instagram, you can post pictures. Really, your news feed is full of people's pictures. It's kind of a way visually for you to see what's going on with people, what people are doing. And like I said, you can go live, you can communicate with people through messaging, and you can see a lot of social media videos, entertainment videos, and you have a lot of public figures and entertainers that use Instagram. Twitter, which was in 2006. Me personally, I love Twitter when it first started. I don't use it as much, but I will say in politics, it is used a lot in one of my campaigning classes. I did see a lot of public figures and politicians use Twitter. Twitter is a great way to post content really quick. You're not really looking at a lot of pictures and things like that. You have a certain amount of letters that you can use or a certain amount of words that you can post. So that's another thing that I liked about Twitter. It's keeping it sweet and simple, not so much going on. And on my timeline, you just see different posts. Like I said, a lot of entertainers, public figures use Twitter. It's, very good for, communicating, getting out what you need to quickly. Same thing with Instagram, not so much going on, especially using the hashtags, which I love. I did that a lot on Instagram and Twitter, hashtagging everything. And it's amazing, especially on Instagram, through those hashtags, you're able to pull up pictures or content or captions, anything in reference to those hashtags. So it's very convenient. Snapchat, 2011, which wasn't that long ago, like I said, it is more so you can watch people's video clips, you can post pictures, captions. The setup is a lot different, and a lot of people use Snapchat. I will say personally, I love the filters. So the filters have become, a very popular thing as well with Snapchat. So throughout history, we can kind of see the development with each one. Now going to slide 5. SNS, social networking sites, and social media. Like I said in the beginning, based on Boyd and Ellis's definition, now we're kind of getting down to the nitty-gritty where we're understanding what social networking sites are and what social media is. So now we're looking at separating them a little bit so we can get a more clear understanding of what makes them so different or what makes them so similar. So with social networking sites, according to our text, it is more of a personal and business relationship with social networking sites that are created online. And typically, or if you're on SNS, a social networking site, you're on some form of a social media, if that makes sense. Which social media is an electronic communication where even if you are on a social media, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are on a social networking site. And the two can be kind of hard to differentiate. With me personally, I'm very glad that I got this topic, because when I would talk about a social networking site, I would automatically say, oh, social media, just putting the two together, which a lot of people do. But in, comparison with the two, when you are using a social networking site, it is just a form of a social media. But just because you're on a social media does not necessarily mean you are on a social networking site. And like I said earlier, websites are so diverse nowadays. So it can be hard to tell, if you are on a social networking site versus, knowing what the social media is. And social media we are all familiar with. So in my personal opinion, that's why I think that I've always compared the two, because they just seem so similar and integrate so much that, hey, this is the social media. That's what I would always say. And also with social media, they use websites for social networking and microblogging. So by looking at this slide, I hope it kind of gives you an idea or a little bit clearer on the differences between the two. But my personal opinion, in which I'm looking forward to reading your comments, it is a little hard to differentiate the two with me personally, because I'll always say social media, but there is a difference. But, when I read your post, I would love to hear about some of the things that you think about the differences between the two. So with our next slide, slide 6, the developments. We have live streaming apps. Like I mentioned earlier, with Facebook and Instagram, you are able to stream live now. Since 2015, you had things like Meerkat and Periscope, which Meerkat is not necessarily a social networking site, but it is something that, like I said, with the whole thing with understanding what social media is and a social networking site is, it is still relevant in this topic. And basically, like Periscope and Meerkat, it's just a way for you to stream live and have viewers and people watching you and tuning in. And the amazing thing about that is, I don't know a lot of people that use Meerkat nowadays, or even back then I wasn't a big fan of it. But Periscope, I have used But it is amazing to see how we have Facebook and Instagram to where you can stream live from anywhere. Working at Intercom in the radio station, we streamed live at events, concerts, and everything, just so if you weren't there, you could see what you were missing out on. I have friends that stream live when they're bored or if something's going on. You know, they can see you watching them, even to the point where with the Facebook, you can have two people streaming at once and you have all these people commenting like, hey, we're watching you. You can see how many people are watching you. So I will say live streaming apps and with things like Facebook and Instagram are still very popular, especially Facebook Live. It is very popular. And I'm pretty sure, if not, most of us have streamed live. I don't do it as often, but I will say, like working at Intercom, we had to do it, and it was something that I didn't mind doing it. And also you have like a lot of news anchors that stream live, so it is very popular nowadays. And also with the streaming apps, you have visual media that combined with on-demand entertainment. Like I said, you know, streaming is a very well-known thing. A lot of people do it. Now, leaving the live streaming, we're going to the cross-platform messaging apps. So you have WhatsApp, Hangout, Touch, which is not necessarily a SNS, but is a new era of alternatives. And this is what I love about the development of social media and social networking, is that, you know, every single time a new innovation comes, we're able to improve it so much. Just like with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they all are somewhat different, but they all add a new development that works around what we as individuals need to make life easier, in a sense. And then business embracing social media. You have things like Slack, the creation of dedicated positions and departments, and customer service. Especially using social media with customer service, so that way you can reach out to your customers, get information, use it to sell products or anything. I've seen a lot of businesses really utilize social media because it's one of those things where it's either you kind of get on board with it and get caught up with this new era of how we're communicating and selling. So now we will look at slide 7, the future of SNS and social media, the fun part. So mobile technology, personally, I think is seen as the future of SNS and social media, and taking over the internet access. I use my mobile device for anything. Just like in previous chapters, from other people's presentations, we've kind of learned how mobile technology has developed. Well, it plays a huge role in social media and SNS because all of our social media, you can access Facebook, Instagram, all these great things that I was talking about can be accessed through your mobile device. Also, speaking of mobile device, the virtual reality trend. The virtual reality trend is very big in the development of technology, and I can see that in the near future for SNS and social media. Just imagine, you know, we can already use live streaming videos to connect with people that are far away, but maybe talking futuristic, having a hologram to where you can hug somebody that's far away, that's not there. You know, these are futuristic things that, I mean, it can happen, and that we see happen or, you know, on the verge of developing every single day. And then we have small and large businesses will utilize and embrace social media. Like I said earlier, it's just one of those things where, you know, small and large businesses can hop on board with the way that we're developing, the way that we're moving towards the future, to get more clientele, to put, their products out a little bit more or their services. Social media is definitely where it's at, and social networking sites. So if you're following along still, slide 8. This is a verse that I know was perfect. I already had it in my mind. I was like, yes, yes, yes. God gave me this verse for my presentation. But, this really relates to this in a sense. It says, I have much to write to you, but I do not want to do so with pen and ink. I hope to see you soon, and we will talk face to face. I love this verse because it makes you think about everything that we just discussed in the slides. And even if we break it down, I have much to write to you, but I do not want to do so with pen and ink. We went away from writing notes to each other, or if you liked a girl, sending her a little letter. Now you're able to communicate on a whole different level than we were before, or than you could have ever imagined. And then I hope to see you soon, and we will talk face to face. That's another interesting thing, like looking towards the future of what we're trying to figure out will happen with social networking sites and social media. Being able to embrace somebody that's not even there with something like a hologram, or being able to see somebody streaming live instead of having to wait to see them face to face. These are things that this verse definitely represents, because it breaks down everything that we're talking about, and also will help us kind of think, put in our mind like, wow, especially from a biblical perspective and a Christian perspective of where we're going now and where we're headed in the future. So with slide 9, which is technically the last slide, I pose not one question, but 2. It doesn't have to be long or anything. I just pose these 2 because they can kind of counter off of each other to make you think a little bit. The first question is, do you see virtual reality being integrated in the social media experience? And the second question is, could this possible integration be helpful from a Christian perspective? And the reason I posed those 2 together was not only based on the information that we discussed in these slides, but also going back to the biblical verse that I used. So I look forward to reading you guys' responses. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and you all have a blessed Sunday and a wonderful day. Thank you so much.